Good afternoon, everybody. We got another interview for you today. Interviewed Justin from Altai. If you're not familiar with the Australians living in Altai, there's quite a bunch of them that moved, I think it's 5 years ago now, to the Altai region. Obviously, go to their channel as well, Backyard Russia. It'll be on the screen here, and we'll put it down in the description as well. Backyard Russia, and you can see all about their family and their adventures, Justin and his wife and their children. Check them out. Enjoy that channel. Please drop your comments down below here as always, and just let us know how we're doing, how much you like these interviews, maybe different angle you'd like to hear, different questions you'd like to hear, or different suggestions. Drop them all down below. We love to hear from you. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Countryside Corner. Here we're all about faith, family, and freedom. Brought to you from no other than Mother Russia. Oh, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Cool. So my name's Justin. I'm a Christian father and, husband and father of 4 children from Australia. And I'm also from a large family. Spent my whole life in Australia. When I was about 15, I started working. Construction. Well, to start off with, I did carpentry for a bit, and then the financial crisis of 2008 happened, and I worked with my dad for a bit. He started a landscaping company. He's an engineer, but got laid off, so started a landscaping company. And I did that for a year or so, and then he got engineering work again, and then I started my carpentry apprenticeship, did roofs for 4 years, 5 years, did a little bit of building, like general construction, like start to finish of houses. And then went to Russia in 2013 on a building trip. Came back, started running my own team. Well, not running my own team, but running a team for somebody else. And then got married, moved down to the country, and did various jobs there, building all sorts of different stuff. And now we're here in Russia.
Okay, so you had actually been to Russia before then. I didn't know that either. Did you go that time with John then? Or?
Yeah. So he had been a couple times, I think, twice before at least. And he invited me on the first building trip they went on. But I was right in the middle of my apprenticeship, so I wasn't able to come. Yep. And then on the second one, I was able to come in 2013. So
cool, that'd be kind of neat. That was through church or something, or?
No. So, he got contacted by the head of OM in Russia. That's the people who called him about it, and were kind of running the building project. But the actual church that we built was not part of OM. They kind of fund different and help different churches out. So to get started up, whether finding a building or helping with logistics and stuff like that. That's, as far as I'm aware, that's how it works. I didn't really know that we were going to be part of that, not part of that organization, but building for that organization. Until I
just went along for the trip.
Yeah, I went along for the trip. I was like, oh, sure, God's given me skills, and I'm happy to help other people with them. So that was kind of the heart of it. So went along.
Okay, I didn't know if it was like a mission trip. I know people who've gone to South American countries or Haiti or whatever, and to rebuild stuff through like a church mission thing. But this wasn't necessarily through church.
No, it was so obviously it's Christian mission that contacted my father-in-law. But when he told me, I didn't know any of that. So I was just like, we're going on a trip. He's like, we're going on a trip to build a church over there. Do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that'd be fun, I'm sure. And you said you're from 11. Are you the oldest or youngest?
I'm the oldest, yeah.
You're the oldest.
Yeah.
We'll cover that a little more later. So how did you end up in Russia? That obviously was the start, but...
Yeah, so in 2013, I kind of came to Russia for the first time. And yeah, so 2013 came, and then we made some friends. They were building. So the head of the organization that funded the church, well, organised the church building. The people that ran it in Novosibirsk, where we built it, were building a house for themselves. So they used to live in old apartments. One of the apartments had the holes in the staircase, to get up to the entrance. There was holes in it, pretty big holes. Anyway, so they were building a house, and we came back in 2014 to help them get the frame and the roof up. So built that, and then in 2014, during that trip, I was kind of like, oh, maybe God's calling me to Russia, because I was kind of like the sort of person who's like, oh, I'm an Australian, I don't really need to go anywhere, I'm quite happy where I am. I didn't have any desires to travel to other countries or anything like that, and Russia certainly wasn't on the radar, so to speak. But then after building there again, and I was kind of going, oh, maybe God's kind of moving me in this direction, sort of thing. And so I had thoughts of moving to Russia, but then I returned home after the 2014 trip, and a few things happened at home, and I got a bit distracted and didn't really think much about it after that, until 2016, 2017, when I started going out with my wife. We had just started, we already knew each other pretty well, but I'd spoken to her dad about getting to know her a bit closer, as far as with the purpose of marriage. And around that time, I think a couple of weeks later, they were planning on going on a trip to Russia to see what winter was like. So I went along with them on that trip. And while we were on that trip, her dad said, oh, we're planning on moving to Russia, kind of thing, and we're just checking it out, sort of thing. So
Surprise.
That sort of thing, I was like, wow. He said, what do you think about that? I said, well, I'm going to need some time to think about that.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Anyway, this is why we're, courting at the time. And, it kind of puts a lot of pressure, because you go, well, hang on a second, what?
Becomes part of the package then.
Yeah. Well, we got married in June of 2017, and spent about a year praying about it, and then felt, the Lord was leading us this way to Russia. And so, in 2019, see if I get my dates right. I think it was 2019. 2019. This is our 5th year now. 2019 we moved. So.
Well, that covers the next question then, how long you've been here. So that's interesting. So that was at least a 5-year. You at least came here a few times, knew a little bit more about it maybe than we did.
Yeah.
Interesting.
A little bit more.
And how well were you received coming? Obviously you knew some people. Is this the same area where you guys did some of that mission work?
Yeah, we came to the same area where we knew people. Makes it a lot easier. Especially when you don't know the language, to have somebody that can either translate for you, or who knows the area, can help you out. We had a friend who doesn't know hardly any English at all. He's been studying it for 2-3 years, and he knows, hello, my name is Victor.
Hey, I can relate to that guy. I have my problems with Russians, so.
Yeah. But he was very good at explaining things with his hands, and grunting and pointing and gesturing and all that.
Okay.
So we had some translators, and they were more of a pain in the neck than he was. He got more done without knowing. We just understood him a lot better, and when we told him what we needed, or somehow got the point across, he did exactly what we needed. Whereas some of the other translators would try and put their own thoughts into it, and it just messed everything up. So
messed it up. Okay.
We
felt some frustrations that way too.
He was just a lot better at being a go-between, even though his language wasn't. We couldn't communicate very well by word, but somehow we got the point across. So. And he was a big help.
Yeah.
We had lots of friends that helped us and stuff in the first couple of years. And yeah. And then as time kind of went on and we got out to talk to other people, we got a lot more of an impression of like what the general Russian population thinks. And yeah, for the most part, everybody's pretty positive about it. They always wonder, I guess they kind of feel a sense of national pride almost, like somebody from Australia has come to us, sort of thing.
Okay.
It makes them kind of
Not something that happens very often, probably.
Yeah, no, they don't expect it. The most common question is like, what brought you here? Like, how in the world did you get to come here? Like, are you a criminal over there? You wanted or something? So
yeah,
so
took a wrong turn somewhere.
Yeah. But they're always quite happy and glad that you chose it. And then when they start talking about like you start talking about reasons why you moved and concerns about the where like Australia and the direction it's heading in politically and stuff like that, they go, yeah, Russia's the best country kind of thing. So yeah, and they always, most people are like, oh, if you need anything, just give us a yell, we'll help you out with this or that or the other or whatever. Just really hospitable. Like there's quite a few stories of people, like you come to a new city and they're like, oh, they just take the day off work and just show you around. So it's to me, that's like in Australia, I don't think many people would do that.
No, I don't think too many people in Canada would. I mean, friends and family might, but
yeah,
not strangers. Not strangers.
Yeah, and it would have to be arranged ahead of time too. They wouldn't just like, oh, I've just met you. Oh, here, look, I'll take you around. But here, they'll just like call up and say, oh,
Right.
sorry, I can't come in, and it was great. So yeah, no, the reception as far as people as coming here was certainly very positive. And then when we started our YouTube channel, just overwhelming support for our family and stuff like that. So
through the YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, face to face, you meet people, and you kind of go, oh, maybe I've met a few really nice people. But when you do it over YouTube, you see that it's not just a few people here or there. It's like in general, the people have been very welcoming. So yeah,
we were really surprised by that as well. Just the overwhelming amount of positive comments.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah.
So you come from a large family. Obviously, you took your in-law side with, or they took you with, however you want to work that out.
Yeah.
But what about your family? What did they think about your move?
I think they were shocked, I guess, a little bit when I first said we were going to move here, but they've been supportive of it. They're believers too, and if I believe that's where God wants me, they're supportive of that. They don't, it wasn't anything negative. Sad, of course, because it's quite probable that we won't see each other again.
Right. So, you're quite a ways apart.
Yeah. And like for them, at this point in time, it's not practical for them to come here. And then for me, I can't really afford to go back. So, yeah.
You think in future sometime they might join you?
We're praying for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say, I guess, at this point. I mean, how young would the youngest be?
So my youngest sister's 9.
Yeah, so it's pretty hard to say at this point yet, right? So
yeah.
I've been asked that myself, and I mean, I have my parents have 51 grandkids, so obviously we have a few of those myself. But there's a chance that some of my nieces and nephews might one day. Who knows? It's pretty hard to answer that, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe it'll be like a Joseph and Jacob scenario where they all come over.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. There'll be a lot of extra people. There's room here for it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can still remember when you first came here. Were you really shocked by the differences between Australia and here?
I think the things that shocked me the most were actually pretty common in Europe anyway. So I think it wasn't so. Like for instance, in Australia, the people at the checkout don't sit down; they all stand up. They're all standing. Whereas here, when we came here,
same in Canada.
a lot of them were sitting down, and I was just like, "That's weird." I don't know, not anything majorly shocking. Obviously, the roads weren't as good as in Australia, but I kind of expected that. they're just not enforced here.
Okay.
Well, they are enforced,
not a lot of police there.
Not very strictly.
Okay.
So they have, because I've looked at the road rules here. Because when I came over, that was one of the things. If I want to be driving, I need to know what the rules are. And I had a little bit of a look into them. They're very similar to Australia, Europe, all that kind of thing. But the penalties are quite a bit different. So, for instance,
in what way?
They're a lot milder here for the most part.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you go, you have to go 20 k's over the speed limit to get a fine.
Okay.
So, which is crazy. Like in Australia, that's a pretty hefty fine by that stage. You're looking at.
I think
over
Canada, I think it's 15. I think 15 kilometers over is the first tick. At least it used to be, anyway.
In Australia, you'll get a fine after 7 k's.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 k's over, you already have a $150 fine.
Oh, you broke up there. $150 fine?
Yeah, about $150 fine, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it used to be, I don't know about today, but it used to be 15 kilometers over was like 50, 60 bucks, something like that. No points. And here, it doesn't sound like they have points, I don't think, eh?
Nah, they used to, and then they dropped it. And then for a while, it was just like you could just speed, and like all the rich people would just speed and speed and speed because the fine's like 500 rubles. Like from 20 to 40 k's over is 500 ruble fine, so about $10 Australian.
That's not bad.
$8 or something Canadian, something like that. I don't know. And actually, no, it's probably more like $6-7 Canadian and $8 Australian at the moment. But yeah, but if you pay it within the first week or two, it's only 250 rubles.
Well, that's less than a toll road.
Yeah, exactly. And so you would just see BMWs and Audis and stuff. They just fly past these speed cameras. They don't care about it because it didn't make any difference. But now they've changed it. So if you get too many fines in a short period of time, like the fine will go, like it won't be a small fine anymore. It'll be more. And then I don't know if there's like a consequence later on, but on the flip side, if you cross a solid white line, they can take your license.
Wow.
It's like a 5,000 ruble fine or something like that. Like it's pretty, they take that pretty serious.
But speeding's okay.
Speeding's okay. Yeah, it's pretty.
We think it's amusing. We went to Georgia first before coming here, so a lot of that shock of anything kind of went away because Georgia was a real complete change from Canada. I mean, the driving's just kind of everybody goes wherever they feel like going. You'll have a 2-lane road with 4 cars beside each other, right? So.
Oh yeah. So that was most of the
rhyme or reason.
I think here, for the most part, everything's pretty much the same. Like,
right.
You might find little bits here and there, but to me, it wasn't shocking, Oh, actually, one thing that was shocking, we went to the theatre in Novosibirsk, and the theatre of ballet and opera and ballet, and the toilets there were like squat toilets.
Like no actual toilet?
Yeah, like a pan on the floor,
Oh, yeah, Georgia had those.
Yeah, in the theatre. Like I knew people had it in there, like in old houses and stuff in the yard or whatnot, but like this was like proper ceramic squat toilet, and I couldn't.
Little traction pads for your feet on the sides.
Yeah, on the sides, little traction pad for the feet, and then I wasn't expecting that. It's changed now; they're normal toilets here now, but back then it was like in 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. It was like that. That was a pretty big surprise.
That'd be different. Yeah, when we went to Georgia, we saw that all the public bathrooms. You're like, what is this? You're missing your toilet.
Yeah.
It's a little different. What reason for moving?
Well, like I said before, we went. For me personally, I'd already been to Russia in 2014. I'd already kind of considered moving, and then 2016, 2017, we got kind of proposed suggested that should move to Russia. Obviously, my wife's Anita's dad had his own reasons for why he wanted to move. For me personally, it has a lot more to do with we felt this is where God wanted us to move. We all come from immigrant families ourselves, As in I didn't immigrate to Australia, but my grandparents did, and my wife's grandparents did as well. So like, they came from Holland, and my grandparents came from England. So within our lifetime, we had already seen people, people have moved to Australia, and then their grandchildren are already moving somewhere else.
You've seen a lot of other people leave?
Not in my circles. Not a lot of people have left. I think not for any particular reason other than marriage or something like that.
Or work or something.
Yeah. So I know a few people that married like either an American or a Swiss person or something like that, and then they end up moving to America or Switzerland or something like that.
Right.
But for the most part, nobody in my direct circles have moved. There's obviously a lot of people that have contacted me since we've moved here and said, "Oh, we want to move," or "We've moved," or "We're over here," or whatever. And you find out there's quite a lot of people that are moving.
Yep.
Obviously, you can look at the kind of trajectory that Australia is taking. It's moving further away from God, and it's becoming worse and worse. Not really a good place for family. It's becoming harder to make ends meet, and for a lot of people. I saw an article not long ago. There was a family on, I think, 100,000 a year or something like that, and they were living on the street because they couldn't afford to live in their
still making 100,000
where they worked. They couldn't afford to live there.
Wow.
And to me, that seems pretty extreme because, I know when I was in Australia, I wasn't anywhere near that kind of money.
Well, a lot of it's probably what kind of lifestyle you're living too, right?
It certainly has a lot to do with it. Yeah. But there's a whole lot of other things like farming regulations and stuff that they're starting to bring in that's making it impossible to produce good food on a competitive.
I guess I would argue on that point that so it wouldn't take me 100,000 to live, I don't believe, but if you used to be able to survive on 100,000 and now you can't, it still shows a decline of the quality of living. So whether the argument, I guess, isn't whether you need 100,000 to live. They used to be able to live like that, I would assume, and now can't.
Yeah.
Maybe they should budget better, but 3 years ago or whatever it was, maybe they could survive.
No, absolutely. Well, they've done lots of different comparisons to their dad used to be the only worker in the family. He only earned this much, but he could buy a house because his percentage of his wage to his house cost was much lower, much higher. Sorry. Yeah.
I've seen some numbers like that worked out before. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you see a lot of, I don't know, some of the prices are just kind of really inflated as far as
properties?
Land, properties and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes it's where you choose to live and all that kind of thing, but there's a combination of things that make people choose to leave. Part of it is the way the government is aggressively pursuing an anti-Christian narrative.
Right.
Because you can see certain religions can have demonstrations, they can talk openly in public, they don't kind of get bothered at all. But Christians start sharing about their belief and everybody doesn't like it and they get, put in jail.
Tends to be that way, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not so bad in Australia, it is getting that way. But in England, for instance, people getting arrested for praying silently to themselves. They're not even saying anything out loud.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And it's just obviously it doesn't happen everywhere, but it happens enough. And you look at the way the public supports those decisions and, maybe not everybody supports it, but enough people support it to a point where, well, this is the direction the country's heading. It's not, it's not just, the leaders were bad. The leaders were bad, but the general population supports it. So,
yeah, or enough of them anyway that the trend continues. So,
yeah, and we've seen that a lot of kind of what you would call minorities are given an amplifier. They amplify that message to the point where it becomes the norm and people just kind of accept it. And then even though maybe a year or two ago, everybody would have been completely against it. Now they're okay with it, and they start joking about it, and then eventually it just becomes accepted and the norm. So,
I was
That's
just
why
explaining to one of my kids yesterday. They throw out this radical idea first, and everybody's like, "What?" And then a bunch of people will jump on and say, "No, no, 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 that's not what we meant. That's a crazy idea." But the seed's planted, and the next time somebody mentions that radical idea, it's like, "Oh, okay." And people have had time to kind of get used to this crazy idea. You do that 3 or 4 times, and then suddenly everybody accepts it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the Bible, it talks about not even mentioning certain things, not to talk about them. We,
Mm.
as parents, have things that we don't talk about around children because they're not, you know, mature enough to,
Yep.
process it or to know what to do with it.
Yep.
They can't make a decision either way. And the more you talk about things that are not good, the more normal it becomes, and it becomes part of how you think. You don't need that.
Desensitizing. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So if you're talking about all kinds of evil stuff all the time, you get desensitized to it. And one thing that kind of I don't know, made me a little bit disappointed is how many in the Christian circles joke about it, and it's like it's not a joke.
Right.
It's pretty
Yep.
serious. If you're going to joke about it, you've let it into your house already. It shouldn't be there.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
If you wouldn't let your children be like that, why would you joke about it? You don't want it at all. Anyway, that's my opinion about it. But yeah,
No, that's a good opinion. It's worth thinking about. I think I've been guilty about joking about some of this stuff too, because some of it's just so ridiculous. It's like it's kind of funny, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you can certainly joke about it. But what I saw people in Australia, people I looked up to. They started to start off with, they didn't really talk about it at all, but then it became a really big political issue. So they started joking about it, and then eventually their children end up going down that path themselves, like fully. It's not even a joke anymore. It's like this is real. It's now part of you've got to make a decision now. What are you going to do about it? It's like, but you let it in by little steps.
Yep.
So,
yep. TV even, I think, and I was disappointed at that here. We went out for dinner the other day, and on the TV they had, I don't know, one of those music shows from back home. I'm not sure what it was, but they're playing some of the pop singers and rap singers and stuff. And the clothes were getting stripped off, and they were dancing in a very inappropriate way. It's like, my kids are sitting in here. It's a family restaurant, and I would expect to see that back home. But I was hoping that here I wouldn't see that. Maybe there's some more steps that need to be taken. I don't think people realize that slowly but surely feeds into the same problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to ask yourself where does the moral foundation come from, and how are you helping that?
Yep.
If you're not helping it, it's just gonna decay. It's entropy.
Yep, you're right. Yep, we should be promoting good things. Any regrets about moving?
Not really. Like I've never gone, I'm gonna move back. It's not working out or whatever. Nothing like that. The only real regret I have is that I don't. It's very likely I'm not going to see my parents and brothers and sisters again. So
right. Yeah.
That's pretty sad. But if I had to make the decision over again, I'd still do exactly the same thing. So not really a regret, but would have been good to have learnt more Russian before I came.
Yeah. I hear you on that one. I think that's probably what I would say. I wish I would have spent. And life is busy, and it's hard to focus on learning it. And I found, and so I think I'm learning it faster here now that I'm integrated in. But I do wish I had known more before coming. So your Russian must be pretty good by now.
Yeah, it passes.
Yeah, I mean, you can go out and you can converse with people at least. I would think so.
Yeah, well, I think so. Every now and then you get somebody who just doesn't understand anything you're saying. Like, have I forgotten how to say basic stuff? What's going on?
Probably related to the last question, but your biggest piece of advice you'd give people if they're considering moving here.
Okay, so if you, like we just said, you should learn Russian straight away.
Language.
Don't wait. Actually, that really kind of don't wait for. Basically, what are you waiting for? If you've already decided that Russia is a place to move to, whether it's for financial reasons or religious beliefs or just for family values or something like that, there's no reason to delay, really, unless you're waiting for somebody to get married and you wanted to be at the wedding or something like that. Because we live in pretty volatile times at the moment. And, like, things change so quickly. Like today, you might have a way to get here and transfer money and all that kind of thing, and then tomorrow it all shuts down, and you've got no chance. So,
where do you see Russia in the next 5-10 years, spiritually, economically, as a nation, as a people?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. 5-10 years. What? So people that are around 15 are going to be voting by then. Having families and stuff
That's
like
an
that.
interesting perspective. Yep.
Well, I'm just trying to think, because obviously people is what kind of determines, especially if you have a democracy or something like that. That's what determines where the country is going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. As far as like a leadership point of view, we've got elections coming up pretty soon. If Putin stays in, I think it's going to head in the same trajectory that it's going at the moment, which is good. So as far as financially goes, I think it's going to be looking up. Obviously, a lot of the things that have happened, like at the moment with, when they got taken off SWIFT, that made a lot of things quite difficult. Not the whole European section where they did a lot of their trade just got cut off straight away.
Right.
And but now we're going to, like, in the next 5-10 years, you'll see that all the changes they've had to make and all the trade agreements they've made now are going to start, bearing a lot more fruit, as far as it will start getting all set up properly. And I think it will
with other nations.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've become a lot closer aligned to China, but not just China, a lot of the Asian countries, even African countries as well. So I think we're going to see India as well. So I think we're going to see some of the fruit of that in the next 5-10 years, providing the people who are leading the country at the moment, either hands over to somebody as competent and with the same vision, or stays in the same hands for the next 5-10 years. So after this election, as far as I'm aware, I think the president can run for one extra time, so that gives us 12-year time period, I think. It's either 6 or 12 years, something like that.
Okay. They have 6-year terms here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they changed it not long ago. I'm pretty sure it's 6 years.
He's not getting any younger either.
No, I think that's what everybody's kind of thinking. Like, so everybody who's pro-Putin would be, going, well, who's next then? Like, how are they going to transfer power? Because, when a very strong leader, is replaced, you kind of get this kind of, vacuum sort of idea.
Yep. Yeah, things are heading in an excellent direction. So,
but at the moment, I think they've got a strong foundation. They're moving in the right direction spiritually. There's a lot of things getting put into place now to try and shore up the spiritual aspect of it. I mean, you can look at it from a purely secular point of view and just numbers type of thing, and they do need more people. So obviously they're encouraging bigger families and that kind of thing, but they're kind of doing that in Orthodox Church, which is obviously a spiritual direction. And it seems to me that they have quite a lot of influence in the government sphere as far as actively trying to influence policies. So
the Orthodox Church.
Yeah. So like they tend to advocate for more family-friendly advertising and all kinds of stuff like that. So it goes a lot more deeper than that. Obviously, they're quite prominent in the different villages and stuff. You'll quite often see a large church. I think, some people might not agree with some of the things that the Orthodox Church does or believes or whatever, but just on a people are thinking about God, like they walk past, that's reminder of,
Constant reminder. Yep.
about God. So I think that's a positive thing. In the villages and stuff, you don't see it so much, but when you live like near a university or something, some of the things you see with the children there, like the people studying at universities, can be a bit concerning. So I don't know how that. I think as far as spiritually, it's hard to tell because obviously the leader of the country how godly they are plays a big role in the direction the nation's going to kind of head.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it really comes down to individuals as to how they live that out. So if parents today are not instilling those values in their children,
Yeah.
if by the way they live their lives, they're turning their children away from God and away from good morals, then the future will be just as dim as that is.
Yeah,
I
hopefully
think,
that doesn't happen. Hopefully they find another strong leader here. I can't imagine he's the only one. Because I don't believe he runs the country by himself. I mean, he's the leader, but a leader of a party. And there are other ones. I don't know their names right now, but there are other ones who have put forward some pretty conservative, strong, traditional proposals and bills that then get voted on and passed. And so I like to think there's a whole team of people.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say that, like, from what I've seen of the Duma and, like, so there are, how did you call that? House of Commons or whatever, like the representatives of the people. It seems to me that a lot of them seem pretty stable people. And I would say that in general, Putin seems to have a good kind of, like, the people around him it seems to me that the government's moving in a similar direction. There might be the odd person here or there is a little bit radical, but for the most part, it seems cohesive, like they're moving towards a particular goal. So I think there's hope there for sure. But you can definitely tell that Putin kind of is the driving factor behind a lot of it. What are you doing? He seems to hold people accountable, which is nice, because one of the things that's really disappointing about Australia is there's just no accountability in government at all. Right. It doesn't seem. The government, all they do is call each other names and try to get one up on each other, telling jokes or something about the other person, or they don't see it. There's no cohesiveness there. Even amongst party members, they'll have arguments and stuff and backstabbings and.
Yeah, it sounds like Canadian politics.
It just seems like a big circus, really, and whenever they find evidence of corruption or something, nobody's held to account. The department that's they'll set up some kind of inquisition, and at the end of it they just say, I wasn't responsible for that, or they resign and they get a cushy job at some big company somewhere, bank,
law firm or oil thing or something.
Yeah. They're never held to account. If we did that kind of thing, we'd end up in prison. And then they just get a slap on the wrist and go somewhere else and get even more money. So.
Yeah, it's true. I find most politicians in Canada, I can't really speak for the other countries, but I'm assuming it's the same. They think about the next election and that's it. And they just want to get in again, right? Make enough people happy so they get voted in again and keep their cushy job. They're not thinking about the future of the country.
Yeah, and I mean, it's quite possible that there's aspects of that here in Russia, but at least from the leadership point of view, from the top down, it seems that if they don't, he expects answers. If you can't give answers, then you don't deserve the position.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One thing, when you look at Australian Parliament, people get pulled before or American or whatever, they get pulled before a commission, and their answer is always like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't remember," and supposedly and somehow that's good enough.
Yeah, it's not. No.
It's like, well, if you can't remember, what are you doing in government? How can we rely on you to make good decisions and stuff if you can't even take responsibility for what's happened? Or you don't know what's going on in your own department at a very close level, So we'll see. What I've found is like a lot of people here, if they kind of poor and aren't really working very hard, like they're not driven people, they'll be like, oh, we don't like Putin because of this, or we don't like him because of that, whatever. The thing that I just don't understand is people go, oh, he's been in long enough, let somebody else take over. I'm like, well, sure, somebody's going to have to take over at one point, but if you've got a good leader, why would you want to get rid of him?
Yep, I would agree with that. Why fix something that isn't broken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to wrap this up so that you can have a chance here too, because you got about 45 minutes, I guess. So.
Cool. All right.
So thank you very much for coming on here and talking with us and sharing a bit about your life. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And people can find you. You obviously have your own YouTube channel. So Backyard Russia, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You can find me there.
And we'll put that down in the description down here below as well, so people can find it.
Cool.
And that's about you and your wife and your little kids and your life here, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. We try and show a little bit of what reality's like here.
Right.
Yeah, what's interesting to us. So
a different reality than us. You're much farther over to the east, but yeah. Good. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Cool.